What is going on, everybody, and welcome on into episode 225 of the Garage Beers podcast. And we have got an amazing show for you tonight. In just a little bit, we're going to get to our special guest who's joining us live. He's currently coaching down in Texas at Tarleton State University, but we know him here in Ohio as an electric running back in the 90s for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Pepe Pearson is going to join us. Plus, we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns in their first preseason game. We're going to catch up on the Guardians and John Kenzie Noel. We got to talk about this dude in a minute. We're going to close out the Olympics and so much more. So it's a great show. It's a packed show, and it's coming to you live here tonight on the OBR streaming network. Make sure you get over to the OBR, theobr.com. Make sure you hit subscribe for all the best Browns coverage. And whether you're watching us tonight on YouTube or Twitch, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow us and share us with your friends. And we appreciate the fact that you guys are all joining us here tonight. With you, as always, I'm your host, Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike. And joining me tonight in the garage, first over on the east side of Cleveland. Find him online at Garage Beers Chad. It's Chad Meyer. What's up, Chad?
Boys, how are you?
I'm so good. We're so good.
I'm going to start with the Olympics here. Curiosity killed my cat today. And I was just curious how much Olympians make off of this stuff. Do they make any money off of the Olympics?
If they medal.
Yeah, if they medal. Yeah, and I got to tell you guys, we got to do better as a country.
Yeah.
With this. Holy shit. Compared to other countries, I mean, you can make more at McDonald's. Like a manager at McDonald's is getting a gold medal in the Olympics. The USA only pays out $38,000 to gold medalists. When compared to other countries like Hong Kong, gold medalists from Hong Kong get $768,000, and it goes down from there. We're at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to how much. I
mean, I think certain, like Hong Kong, obviously one of the wealthiest places on the planet, but I think you compare us a little more closely to, like, let's take like Germany. I want to say Germany pays their medalists like 300,000 euros.
Well, sure, even that, but like Spain's 102,000.
Yeah.
Or you could offer more incentives. Fuck, Kazakhstan and Malaysia offer their gold medalists foreign-made cars, right? Some people in Indonesia get 5 cows. I don't know what that does for people in Indonesia, but they get 5 cows. Okay? We do better, USA. Kazakhstan gets apartments. They get fully furnished apartments, too.
I think Kazakhstan should give only locally made cars.
Number 1 exporter of potassium. Obviously, it does well for them.
Oh, man, we are going to get into the Olympics because I got to tell you, boys, that last week of the Olympics, some of the most electric moments happened. The basketball games alone, electric. We're going to talk about that later in the show. But again, electric show here tonight. Chad bringing it hot already. Also joining tonight, our other co-host down in Nashville, Tennessee. Find him online at Garage Beers. Joe, it's Joey Whalen. What's up, Joe?
I too am excited about the Olympics, but I'm also excited about baseball because Guardians they're figuring things out, and we got to get into this pitching that we've acquired.
Well, we got to talk about that a minute.
Holy smokes! Yeah, we'll get into that, but I'm excited.
And we got to talk about again. I'll bring him up. I'm going to bring him up from now until I die. John Kenzie Noel. The dude has tree trunks the size of my entire body for legs.
Quadzilla.
And he's just banging home runs like he just did tonight. We're going to get into all that. We're going to get into Olympics. We're going to get into Guardians. We're going to get into we had the Browns' first preseason game. We want to maybe get into some takeaways there. But I will say this, our special guest is in the background. I'm not going to sit here and make him wait. I'm not going to make him wait because I'm so excited for this. Chad, I don't think anybody is excited for our special guest as you are tonight.
Let's go.
I don't think anybody's excited as you are. Chad's got some great stories that he's going to get into. We got some great stories we're going to get into. We're going to bring him in right now. You know him. Really, as if you remember the Ohio State Buckeyes of the 90s, they had this guy that played running back for them that was pretty darn good in the mid-90s. His name was Eddie George. And I feel like a lot of people thought, man, Eddie George is going to leave. He won the Heisman. He's going. He's leaving. What's next? Well, I'll tell you what's next. What's next is this shifty, powerful running back that in his first season as like the full-time starter ran for like 1,500 yards and was just electric for the Ohio State Buckeyes as they made their way to the Rose Bowl. A guy that really made his name at Ohio State and then now is making his name in the coaching ranks of college football. We're really, really excited to have him, to catch up with him. We're going to bring him in right now. Pepe Pearson, welcome in to the Garage Beers podcast.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, that was a good introduction there, man. Appreciate it.
Let's go, Pepe. Let's go. Dude,
Let's go.
I know I know I told you this on our text message, but I got to tell you the story because I got to I'm going to make you feel pretty old here, and I apologize, but you are some of my earliest football memories. I was just a humble fourth grader, right? In 1992 is when I remember this.
Yes, sir.
And my dad was the defensive coordinator for the Willoughby South Rebels for years. And Pepe Pearson here, for those that don't know, went to Euclid High School. They were in the good old GCC back in the day.
GCC.
And Pepe Pearson here, folks, used to terrorize my dad. And by terrorize, I mean I remember distinctly. I woke up because this is why it's my earliest football memory. I woke up one night to my dad yelling at my mom after she asked him, "Shouldn't you go to bed?" And this I think you'll appreciate this too, Pepe. Total football guy. My dad turns to my mom and goes, "God damn it, Barb! I've got Pearson and Yursich tomorrow. You got any ideas?"
That's hilarious.
He goes, "And go to bed." He goes, "Go to bed. I got to figure this out." And he did it for 92, 93, 93. Oh, man, dude, you were a stud back in the day, pal.
No, appreciate it, man. Those were some good times, good memories, great memories. So used to love playing against Willoughby South, though. I mean, to their credit, Willoughby South was tough, man. They were tough. It was tough playing them every time. So you really had to earn what you got. But, those were some great times and memories. And I had some great games against Willoughby South.
Yeah, you sure did. I remember him well. So does my dad.
From the high school ranks, are there any teams you remember that you didn't have great games against?
Well, I had one great game against Ignatius, and then the next one wasn't. So Ignatius was the one that could kind of shut me down and everything. So, but outside of that, I had some great games.
Now, when you look at the Ohio high school football scene, Pepe, especially back in that day, I mean, you talk about, the Bill Gutbrods, you talk about, the Chuck Kyles, but I don't think Coach Bank gets enough credit for the impact that he had on the game. Like, what was Coach Bank to you? Talk about the impact he might have had on you.
I think Coach Bank had a tremendous impact on our group in the 90s. He was always there for us. He was always promoting us, whether it was football, even if it was track. He was always trying to, whatever accolades we deserved, he was always fighting for those accolades for us. And outside of that, he was an outstanding coach. He was an outstanding motivator. And I love playing for Coach Bank, and I just remember him being a great leader to our teams. We had some great athletes. He was a part of some great teams. Having Robert Smith prior to me, teams. Then he ended up having me and my 4 years, and then he may have had even a little bit of Tony Fisher after. So we had a span of 12 years there that was outstanding.
And just a filter into Ohio State, too. Just a lane to Ohio State there. So Pepe, one of the things that we love to ask guys that have come through and had the amount of success, especially local guys, when you go to Ohio State, when you go to be a running back at Ohio State, your only offer is in Ohio State. You got colleges scouting you from all over the place when you're good enough to go be a Buckeye. So tell us about that journey for you, that recruitment journey from being that kid at Euclid that was just dominating pretty much everybody to how that recruitment process went. Was it always going to be Ohio State for you, or were there other teams kind of in the mix? And how did you land on joining the Buckeyes in Columbus?
So it'll be good to tell this story because a lot of people don't know it.
Ooh.
And,
we love those.
Yeah, it'll be good for people to hear. So, when the recruiting process started, I was getting letters, I was getting offers from pretty much every school in the country, the Florida schools, the Cali schools, all over the country. But early in the process, I knew I wanted to play like a tough brand of football, have a great running game, be a part of a tough-nosed running team. So when the recruiting started, I pretty much told the Florida schools no, and the Cali schools no out west. And I said, I'm going to go to a school in the Midwest. And so I X'd out those schools right away. So that made it a little bit easier for me. The schools it came down to was Notre Dame, Michigan State, the other team up north, Syracuse, and Ohio State. So, growing up and everything, you guys may not believe this, but I never really watched Ohio State football. So this is one of those things people don't really know.
Okay.
I never grew up just saying I wanted to be a Buckeye. I actually wanted to go to Notre Dame. And I was influenced by, Jerome Bettis and the Rocket Ismail at the time.
Yeah.
And, so I really wanted to go to Notre Dame. So Notre Dame was my first visit, and Lou Holtz ended up coming over to Euclid High School and visiting with me for a little bit. And I ended up at the time I had a C in my math class, and Notre Dame is big time academic school, and that's great and all, but I had a C in the class, and so they postponed my visit.
Oh no!
So they postponed my visit, and so they ended up possibly being my fourth visit, because my next visit was to Michigan State, and then the visit after that was the team up north. Peyton Manning was on that visit too. So
okay,
I got no respect on that visit anyway. So, and then again, like one of their running backs, they told me he was leaving or whatnot, and that ended up not being true. And so my next visit was Ohio State. So I got to Ohio State. Eddie George was my host.
Oh.
And that was probably the perfect person to put me with, because, just being around him and staying with him for a little bit, it just made everything feel at home with me. He took me around the facilities, took me around the players, and I really felt like I was at home on that visit. And so I ended up committing to Ohio State on that visit. It was like no question. I knew that's where I wanted to go. So afterwards, Notre Dame calls, and they're trying to get me to come, and I said no. And I'm not going to say any names or whatever, but the person who was recruiting me was a little upset that I wasn't going to even give him a chance for a visit.
Oh, okay.
And so I told him I made my decision. They said Ohio State would probably never beat Notre Dame.
Well, Pepe Pearson has something to say about that. Pepe Pearson has something to say about that.
Fortunately, they came to the shoe.
Yeah.
I think it was my sophomore year. They came to the shoe, and that's when we beat them about 45-27.
Yeah.
And then the very next year, we went up to Ann Arbor. Well, we went up to not Ann Arbor, but we went to Notre Dame, and I'm the starting running back, and so I remembered everything that had happened when I was getting recruited by Notre Dame.
Let's go.
They postponed my visit. I kind of got a talking to with the personnel there. And so trust and believe I was ready to go for that game.
Yeah, well, the stats say so.
Right. So that game was the very best game that I feel like I played in college football.
Yes.
I ended up being the player of the game. I had over 100 yards rushing, over 50 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, and was the player of the game that game. There was something to prove there. But yeah, Ohio State ended up being the choice. I believe with all my heart that it was the right choice. I had a fantastic 4 years. We got a chance to win a Rose Bowl during my career there. So just a fantastic career there. And, being able to be an alumnus there, it's just been awesome.
Pepe, real quick, Chad, before you go on, we have a very distinct rule on this podcast. And that rule is anytime the name Lou Holtz gets brought up, we've got to throw Chad into a little bit of a role play. So, Chad, here's what I need you to do real quick.
Okay.
What I need you to do real quick, Chad, is I need you to give me the Lou Holtz conversation with Pepe Pearson real quick to try to convince him to come after they kind of gave him the cold shoulder.
Well, Pepe, I'm so sorry. We totally dropped the ball here on your visit. I know you had that C in the math class right there, but you got the chance to be something real special here at the University of Notre Dame. So if you just give me one more chance, I swear we will convince you to be a part of the Fighting Irish, sir. So I'm sorry, and if you could please just reconsider your choices, I swear you will be a special part. You may even get a chance to start here at the University of Notre Dame.
Oh, that was awesome, man. That was pretty good, man. I must say.
That's so good.
That was pretty good.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Chad, but we have.
No, you're good.
Love it, man. Love it.
I was wondering, the moment you just saw Eddie, at least this would have been my first question. Hey, Eddie, how do you not have 1 ounce of fat on your body? Like, you're just all muscle? Like,
oh man, yeah. I mean, when I saw him, I just said to myself, "Is this the way they all look?" Geez, I'm playing college football now for sure. It was great.
So, Pepe, the conversation then, I think it's interesting because I think your freshman year was Eddie's junior.
Yes,
is that right?
Correct.
So. Was that ever like a thought process in your head? Because I know a lot of kids are real interested in early playing time and all that. And you're going in knowing Eddie George is the guy your freshman year. So kind of in your head as a kid coming out of Euclid and looking at Ohio State, was there ever a thought of like, man, well, this is like Eddie George's team right now? Or was it like, hey, I get to go work with this dude and contribute on the field with this dude and kind of hopefully take that baton on?
Yeah, I mean, once I got there, Eddie was still in his junior year. He was coming off that sophomore year where I think the Illinois game he had fumbled and they ended up losing the game or whatnot. So Eddie came off of a year where I think the coaching staff may have felt like he still had some things to prove. So during the recruiting process, you kind of just look at the different rosters and everything like that. And I decided on those last 5 because I felt like I had the best chance to play at one of those 5 schools. So Ohio State ended up being the best choice because, he really didn't have anybody behind him backing him up at the time. And so I knew I could come in as a freshman and possibly contribute. In my young mind, I felt like I could go and start at Ohio State.
Sure.
I did get some playing time, but there's a learning curve that you have once you get to college, and I had to experience that. So, but it was fantastic playing behind him and being in the same room because I got to learn what hard work ethic is. His junior year, going into that junior year, I got a chance to see him work that summer. And I mean, my man Eddie would, where all of us was just doing one workout a day, Eddie would do 2 and 3 workouts a day.
Ooh.
So there was nobody who could tell me that everything he achieved and earned throughout his career at Ohio State he didn't deserve. So it was great playing behind him and learning so much from him, and I did. And he prepared me to take on the torch after he left, and I think he did a good job.
Now, outside of this, obviously the physical aspects of college football, I mean, what are the main differences like that you notice when you went from going from the high school to the college level?
Well, it's the basically it's the details of what the playbook looks like. You go from high school where you're running maybe 4 or 5 basic plays, and you don't have to be very detailed. In high school, it's just pretty much give Pep the ball and go score a 72-yard touchdown.
I saw so many of those. I saw so many of those, Pep.
Right. So, when you get to college, you have to learn the different details and intricacies of what a playbook is. You have to learn pass protection as a running back. I never really had to pass pro in high school because they just gave me the ball. So, I had to be taught the, fundamentals and techniques of, what it meant to pass pro and understanding defenses and coverages and all of those things. So it was really a learning process that first and second year for me. By the end of my sophomore year, I was ready to go. It really was a great experience for me.
So, Pepe, you lead us in perfectly to the next part of it, because really that junior year of yours it's an awesome story, right? You're sitting behind Eddie George, and as Ohio State fans, when you lose a player like Eddie George, it's concerning. Is Pepe Pearson going to be able to step in? You do that with quarterbacks. You do it with wide receivers. Well, here comes Pepe Pearson going off for about 1,500 yards in that junior season, that first year without Eddie George. But talk about the things that led up to that season and really what made it possible. Your work ethic, the guys around you, all that made it possible for you to have such a special season filling in after Eddie George left.
Well, going into my junior year, I wanted to make it known that I was the best running back on Ohio State's squad. Yeah. And so I worked my butt off over the summer, and I think I showed the coaching staff and my teammates that I was ready for the challenge. What a lot of people don't realize is when I was in high school, I came behind Robert Smith, who ended up attending Ohio State. So I had already done what I was going to do at Ohio State in high school because I had to follow Robert Smith. And so, when it came to my time to kind of shine and play, I was ready. I knew I had the athletic ability. It was just about putting it on the field at that time. And, fortunately, in the 90s, they recruited some great players around me. I had a great offensive line with Orlando Pace and some other guys on the offensive line. And, that combined with my talent and our receivers outside, we were pretty explosive at Ohio State. So, everything was just set up so that I could be successful. I think the coaching staff did a great job of making that happen. And I did my job, with putting the stats up.
And Chad asked you before about like the Eddie George muscular figure that he was. You also played with David Boston, who, like, in my head still to this day is the most physically outrageous wide receiver I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Like the biggest, most built, most ridiculous wide receiver. Is he up on that list? Like, should I still be remembering him that way?
Yeah, David Boston was definitely, he was a workout junkie. He loved being in the weight room. His very first year was my junior year. He was coming in as a freshman, And one of the first times in the weight room, he comes by me and he just does this, and he's just like, man, I got to get my arms bigger. So I knew right then, like, he was going to be a fanatic in the weight room, and he wanted to build his body up and everything. And he actually got bigger when he went to the NFL.
Yeah,
he got even bigger in the NFL. So, but he was a great player, a great specimen. Along the likes of Eddie and Ricky Dudley was a specimen.
Oh.
We had some freaks at Ohio State during the 90s.
So I wanted to ask you too. So we talked about, you talked about the Notre Dame game, right? And so when you look back at all the games you've played, I mean, and obviously we're going to get to the obvious one, the last game of the 96 season, 96-97 season. But what other games when you look back on your career, especially, in maybe your junior and senior year, what other games stick out to you that were just great games, or you yourself had a great game? What other games stand out to you?
Well, number one on the list is the Rose Bowl. We played against Jake the Snake in Arizona State out in Pasadena. One of the greatest games I ever played in. It was back and forth. I made some big plays in that game. Rest in peace, Demetrius Stanley made some plays as well, some big plays. Stanley Jackson, Joe Germain with the winning drive, and David Boston. That was just a great game. Jake the Snake, doing his thing and slithering and getting a late touchdown, and then us having to, drive the ball down the field on that last drive. It has to be one of the greatest Rose Bowls played, but it was an awesome time out there. The atmosphere was tremendous. It was great. So that was one of the best games I've ever played in my life, and really one of the best experiences I've had.
You talked about the and again, we're just being nostalgic here, but you talked about playing in the Rose Bowl and just the iconic scenery, right, of the Rose Bowl. And it's, again, all I can hear is Brent Musburger's voice, and you are looking live, and the whole thing. Some of the other, again, when you play at Ohio State, you get an opportunity to play at some iconic stadiums. You get an opportunity to play at Penn State and Michigan and all of those.
Right.
Where are some of your favorite plays? And again, now you've been around college football for a long time since you played there, but where were some of your favorite places to play? Where were some of the places that got you riled up, feeling like, oh my God, I got to have a special moment here for us to win this game? Right.
Well, you always had to be prepared when you went to Wisconsin, because back in the day, you may get a marshmallow with some pennies thrown at your helmet. So you had to have your helmet on, all right, at Wisconsin. So that's what I remember playing there. And obviously they got to jump around and all of that. So that was a great atmosphere. And then Penn State was probably the craziest atmosphere. It still is today.
Yeah.
We go and play Penn State my freshman year, and Eddie ended up getting hurt, and I had to go in the game and play. And so all I remember hearing, they had Kajana Carter, they had all the guys, and I just remember that the cat at Penn State, and they got a tremendous fan base. It was loud as heck there. Yeah. But that was one of the loudest and the best atmospheres to be around. And the other one, we went out to Washington. Washington gets pretty loud now. They get pretty loud. That the sound is kind of ringing off of the water. So that was pretty neat too, to play out there. So I would say Washington, Penn State, Wisconsin. And I did love playing in the Sugar Bowl. Even though we ended up not winning that game, but the Sugar Bowl was always a good one, and the Rose Bowl was a great one. So those are a few places that I'll always remember.
I got one more quick one. I got to ask you about one more teammate. I know Chad's got something right after this. But I got to ask you about one more teammate because he was so important to your career. Because if you're a running back, there's nobody more important to your career than your offensive lineman. And you played with a guy that turns out to be, I think, what people would call one of the greatest left tackles that have ever played the game of football.
Yeah,
we're not just talking about one of the greatest Ohio State Buckeyes. We're not just talking about one of the greatest Baltimore Ravens, and I hate saying their name, but But we're talking about one of the greatest left tackles that has ever suited up and played the game of football, Orlando Pace. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You played with him as a college kid, obviously. You played with him kind of growing up and becoming men in college together. Did you know this dude was special when you're practicing with this guy, when you're around this guy? Do you know he's special? And do you see the career that he's about to have as you're his teammate?
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was going to be great. We were still in high school and we were playing in the Big 33 All-Star game. So Ohio versus Pennsylvania. And we got a chance to play together there and meet each other and be around each other. And I had never seen anything like him before. And then we get to Ohio State together our freshman year, and I see this dude putting people that had been there on their backs like it was nothing. And we knew it right away. We knew it right away. I think he was starting from day one because he was so talented. But it was just great playing with Orlando. I knew going into my junior year, if I was running left, I was going to milk that left side as much as I could because he was going to clear it away for me the whole time. So it was great playing with Big O. We've gotten a chance to see each other ever since. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer now, and you definitely knew he was going to be great and destined for greatness for sure.
Football 101. Keep going at them until they stop it.
Absolutely.
Right, keep going there.
Run left.
I got two more questions that I want to ask you, Pep. I want to go back to the stadiums for a second because I was wondering if you could back me up on something because I've in the sports media realm, so I've traveled around to different college football stadiums, working camera and everything, and I tell anybody who will listen, even though it's huge and can fit over 100,000 people, and it is still loud because it is 100,000 people, but Team Up North, that stadium, at least on the field, is not as loud as you would think it would be.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm not giving them credit for anything anyway.
Nothing.
I mean, they never affected me any. So
perfect.
Yeah.
I thought you'd say that.
So that's my answer.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to it.
Perfect.
So.
And then the other thing I want to ask you about, I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about your experience with Coop. I mean, you had a coach. You go from Coach Bank in high school to Coach Cooper at Ohio State, who, again, another guy that just had an effect on so many people's lives and careers. What was your experience like with Coach Coop?
Well, I think Coach Coop, he was always able to put together a tremendous staff. Some of the coaches that coached underneath them were just outstanding coaches. Coach Spencer, guys that would go on to, coach in the NFL. So he would put together a tremendous staff. Coach Bill Connolly did a tremendous job recruiting in the 90s. Again, I mentioned we had some of the best classes in Ohio State history in the 90s, man. We had some freaks. Orlando, we just had so many people. Sean Springs, just so many great players that were recruited in the 90s. And but he was able to, get together that coaching staff and coach us athletes up. And I think we had tremendous success with him and the coaching staff. I think although he wasn't as successful as he wanted to be, the Team Up North, I think he really wanted to win those games. We just fell short. But he did everything he could to prepare us. We had some great seasons. We were prepared and ready for every game, and he tried to do the best he could for all of the athletes. So it was great playing for Coach Coop.
That's awesome. So Pepe, I want to talk to you a little bit about now your time since college football and getting into the coaching ranks and all that. Obviously, on the professional side of things, everybody that plays at a certain level has a dream that their professional career is going to go a certain way. And your professional career was you got look after look with some NFL teams. You were on quite a few practice squads and quite a few training camps, but the NFL career never really took off. You spent some time in that original NFL Europe, which I think is awesome. And you played in some big games over there.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm very excited to hear this as a coach now. And you've been a coach at different areas. You spent a good chunk of time at Marshall. You were at Youngstown State. You're at Tarleton State now. I think Tennessee State there for a bit. But how does your experience being a premier player at a premier organization like Ohio State, and then understanding how hard it is to go from that to the NFL level and the NFL ranks, how does that affect the way that you kind of teach the young men underneath you that, listen, things only get harder from here, and whether it's Tarleton State or Marshall or Ohio State, or it doesn't matter, you could be the best player we got on this team, but things only get harder from here. And like, do you use your experience to kind of teach the young guys that lesson?
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get into coaching after my, playing career was done. I still had a passion and a love for the game. So I started coaching back at Ohio Dominican back in 2000. And then, so I coached there for about 10 years and ended up at Youngstown State. And like you said, on to Marshall, Tennessee State, now at Tarleton. Well, the biggest thing is over my 24-year coaching career, it's giving back. That was my way of giving back. Some of the things that I experienced as a student athlete at Ohio State, some of the coaching that I got, I took a little piece of every experience that I had, and I tried to make it who I am right now as a coach. So there were some things that I liked, that coaches, how they communicated or whatnot, and there were some things that I disliked. And so I took from every experience, I feel like I took from every experience that I had in order for me to give that back along my coaching career now. And so that's the most fulfilling part of what I do and why I've been doing it for so long. It's giving back, letting those student athletes kind of know, hey, I've been in your shoes. I was at, a prestigious university. I was at the top, the pinnacle of everything. I wasn't able to make it as far as everyone would think I would. And so this is how you handle that going forward. So, okay, maybe you didn't make it as far as you want to go, but that doesn't mean life is over. So how are you going to reinvent yourself at that point? And so sharing my experiences at the college level and the NFL level, and me not making it as much, I mean, that stuff, they love to hear it. They love to hear it, and they understand it's not easy. And so that's a part of everything being so fulfilling for me, the coaching profession, and why I've done it so long, because I'm able to have those conversations with the student athletes. And, I think I do a pretty good job of kind of just keeping them humble and giving them advice and steering them on the right path. And so that's kind of my job, and that's what I enjoy doing.
I love that. All right. I got one last question, then we're going to let you go, Pepe. This year, I think it's week 2. I don't know whether it's, to be honest with you, college football is so stupid with the weeks. There's week 0 and week 1, and I don't know what week it is. But I do know Tarleton State, the Texans, they're at Tarleton State. If you don't know where Tarleton State is, like, go to Dallas and then kind of southwest into nothing. That's where Tarleton State is. Tarleton State is heading down to Waco, going down to the Bears Den. You're going into Waco to Baylor. Is Tarleton State ready to pull that upset? Your boys ready to pull that upset in Waco?
Well, we're about 11 days away from our first game on ESPN versus McNeese.
Yes.
And so, we're going to get prepared for them. And, I think we have a pretty veteran team. I think we have 26 seniors and maybe 30 juniors. So we're experienced. They're vets. We have some really good players. I think the thing that will help us a lot this year is really having depth as well. So when you go against those teams like Baylor and the bigger teams, when you're at FCS, a lot of times those teams get the wins because they have 85 scholarships where you don't have as many at FCS. So I think our coaching staff, our head coach has done a tremendous job of kind of creating some depth on our team that I think will serve us well as we enter our first true year in Division I FCS. They transitioned from Division II, and we're now official. We can go to the playoffs, and once we play McNeese and hopefully have success there, we'll think about the Bears at that point. But I think I would say we have a good chance of maybe doing a little bit better than what people think we might.
Okay. All right.
Noise, Tarleton. Make
Well,
some
I got-
noise.
Well, I got two quick ones. I know. I just thought of. They just popped in my head. I'm sorry, Pep.
Typical Chad.
Two quick ones.
Typical Chad.
Because I mean, obviously, I mean, we'd ask you about the current Buckeyes, but we all know that they're going to be there in the end. But how do you feel about the 12-team playoff now?
I think it's going to, just add to the luster. It's going to add to the drama of college football. I'm excited about it. Just seeing different teams that you normally wouldn't see have a chance. I think we'll truly find out who's the true number one with adding these extra games and stuff like that. I mean, it's going to be a great to see what happens.
Okay.
Well, and Pepe, especially, and again, I don't mean to jump in. I know we're doing this quick, but especially now that they're combining all these conferences and all that, now you got these 18-team super you guys, especially you guys must have felt this way because you had so many years, right? Like, look at your Rose Bowl year. The only reason you weren't playing for a national title that year is you lost one game by 4 points to Michigan.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's got to be great for these kids and these coaches and these programs that, like, maybe you can lose a game and still have a shot at a national title. You don't have to be perfect. You can be darn near perfect and still be the best damn team in the country.
Right. I think, you may be able to lose. You may be able to lose 2 games and still make the playoffs, depending on what conference you play in. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. But, with the transfer portal being like it has been the last few years and now being a 12-team playoff, I mean, anything can happen.
Yes.
Because, teams are building their teams to compete in the SEC and the Big Ten. And they're bringing, portal guys in to help. You just never know. You never know who's going to be the sleeper team coming up this next year.
And my last question, have you seen Euclid's new stadium, Pep?
I have.
Unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I was pretty impressed with it. And, they've done a great job there.
Yeah.
So, it's nice. It was nice to go home and kind of see the new stadium. It's kind of like a little shoe.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was pretty good. But no, that's a great atmosphere, a great stadium for the high school level for sure.
For sure. And then I was glad they didn't tear down Sparky DiBiasio right behind it. I think that's where the
you got to keep DiBiase. You can do other stuff. You got your track team. That's history right there. So,
that's right.
Yeah. No, it was great being back. I went back maybe 2 summers ago and got a chance to walk around. They were putting up a picture of mine on the stadium somewhere.
Okay.
And, they just wanted to let me, kind of see how everything was going to flow. So, it looks great.
Man, he's a Euclid Panthers legend. He's an Ohio State Buckeyes legend. He's currently the associate head coach and running backs coach down there at Tarleton State in Texas. Pepe Pearson, man, this was awesome. It was awesome reliving some of those amazing moments with you, and we really, really appreciate your time with us here tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Pepe Pearson,
Thanks, Pep.
what a time. What a time. What a time with Pepe Pearson. Oh, he was great. Are you kidding me? I can just imagine your dad just being furious around the house, having to figure out how to defend the guy.
Well, I mean, and I can't imagine how many more goddammits I would have heard with him watching tape on Robert Smith before. I was just too young to remember. And going into Pepe Pearson, Jesus Christ.
Well, go follow Coach Pepe Pearson, Coach Pep Pearson on Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow. I feel like on some level of football, this guy has worked himself into a near future head coaching job, as he is the associate head coach there at Tarleton State. And we wish them and his program there nothing but the best of success. And it was so fun catching up. So again, shout out Pepe Pearson for being our guest tonight. All right, boys, we got a couple of things that we got to get into. And the first thing we got to get into is, and I always try to feel this out, and we didn't get an answer on tonight, so I didn't want to say anything, but we always try to feel out whether our guest is going to have a beer or not. I don't think Pepe had one, so we didn't bring it up, just because we don't want to bring up any weird subjects. So we got to do our garage beers of the week. And tonight on episode, it was girthy. It was a nice girthy pop.
Hey, I got another one.
Oh, careful. Oh, there it is. Tonight on episode,
that's really good for the first time.
On episode 225 of the Garage Beers podcast, our Garage Beers of the week are brought to you by the Cleveland Tint Company. Born and raised in Cleveland, the Cleveland Tint Company is the #1 place in Cleveland for your commercial, residential, or automotive window tinting needs. Listen, we're all trying to save money right now. We're all trying to think of different ways to save money right now, especially when it's warm outside. You're trying to keep that sun and that heat out of your house, trying to keep that AC from working overtime. And trying to keep your electric bill from skyrocketing. That's where Cleveland Tint Company comes in. At your home or your business, Cleveland Tint Company brings you the best product and service that you can find in all of Northeast Ohio, and nobody does car window tinting better. The company with the only lifetime warranty in Cleveland, my buddy Paulie and the Cleveland Tint Company, 100% stands behind their work. So give Paulie a call today, 440-655-3213, or go to clevelandtint.com for more info. Garage Beers of the Week time. You are popping them girthy style. Joe, what are you drinking?
PBR boys. Hey. We're going easy. We're going classic. I had a PBR craving this week.
Ooh. A craving?
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I like a desired thirst for it and something light.
Okay.
Desired thirst. That should be their new slogan.
A desired thirst.
They got enough shit on the can anyways.
PBR for all of your desired thirsts.
Desire.
Yeah. We do have a lot of text on here.
It's so good.
It's so good though. I haven't had a PBR in forever.
Shout out to PBR. All right, that's a great
PBR.
one. Chad, what are you drinking?
Boys, I went simple tonight. It's been on the show plenty of times before, but I got the Elliott Ness.
Ooh, another good one.
Oh, new
good stuff.
can.
Yeah, new can. Is it? Is that a new can?
Oh, well, it's a little bit new. You know what? Matt Douglas had that on last week.
I think I've only ever had it in bottles, so I don't know if this is a new can or not.
It's a good beer. It's a great beer.
It's delicious.
It's rock solid. You happy? Are you happy with that swig you just had?
Yeah.
There?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I already finished my first one.
What did I do?
Yeah.
All right. That brings it to me. I am in the Hilton Garden Inn in Rockville, Maryland, where I spend most of my life. And I went and grabbed a beer, and this is out of Ardmore, Pennsylvania. Don't know where that is. But this is the Tired Hands Brewing Company.
Nice.
Oh,
double dry hopped IPA with honey.
Ooh.
It's the double dry hopped pineal. I don't know how we even say that. I don't know how we're going to say that.
The perineum.
The perineum.
Yeah.
And this is just delicious. It's a great beer. I'd never really heard of Tired Hands Brewing, but I saw it. I liked it. I liked the can art. I liked the kind of beer it was. And I was like, we're going to roll with it. And it's great. So from Tired Hands Brewing, the double dry hop pineal. If you're drinking something with us, watching us tonight, get it into the comments. We'll post it up on the screen. And if you're listening to us later, go ahead and just send them to us at the Garage Beers on all the socials, and we'll give you replies there too. But guys, cheers to everybody watching live here tonight. Cheers. And let's move right into our mid segment, which is our asshole of the week. And there are some ones to be had out there. There's some ones to be had out there. I don't know whether I want to throw the hammer first or I want to let you guys go and then I'll throw the hammer. I think I'm going to throw the hammer. I think I'm going to throw the hammer because a real long time asshole, a person that could be the asshole of the week every week, whether it's on our show or not.
Okay.
Has got a little comeuppance this week.
Ooh.
And I don't, maybe I shouldn't say I'm rejoicing in this, but like maybe a little bit. How about the owner?
Yeah.
Several restaurants in the Cleveland area, including Town Hall.
What happened?
How about Bobby George,
he's
a piece of shit. And he's terrible to people. He's been terrible to his employees. He's terrible to anybody that isn't white. He is an awful person. He was part of that group that decided that he was going to boycott the Olympics. So he said, if you want to watch the Olympics, don't come to Town Hall. So then just people didn't go to Town Hall. Well, how about this? Bobby George gets arrested this week. What's he get arrested for, guys? What's he get arrested for? Attempted murder.
Oh,
What else does he get arrested for? Rape. What else does he get arrested for? Any other major thing that you can talk about, because he sucks and he's an asshole. And you know what? I don't know that I wasn't there. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, but you know what? This guy has been terrible for years.
A long time.
The guy got arrested for it. And now he's facing. Did you see what happened, by the way, in his bond setting? I'm gonna leave it at this because I don't want to rejoice, but also the prosecutor asked for $100,000 bond for him, and the judge said, based on the evidence that you've presented, $100,000 isn't nearly enough, and the judge just doubled it to a $200,000 bond. That guy stinks, and he 100% is my asshole of the week. And if he did the things that are alleged, which I don't know because I wasn't there, but if he did the things that are alleged, I hope the whole book gets thrown at him.
He ain't getting out for a while, regardless.
Totally.
If he's proven guilty, he ain't getting out for a while.
Yeah, well, hopefully then somebody can take over town hall that makes it not a super toxic place. Anyways, that's my asshole of the week. Chad, what about you, buddy?
I'm going to go with I don't know how to say his name. Chris Ronan, the councilman who wrote the letter to the fucking Browns about the stadium thing. Yeah, and his bullshit letter to the Browns. Like, what are you trying to do here, pal? All it is, if you read this letter, you can read it on his Twitter page, Chris Roan asshole. Maybe that's what he said. All it is a bunch of word salad for making up for your failure, for not developing the lakefront. Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit. Yes. Saying things like moving the stadium to Brook Park doesn't make fiscal sense for the county. What the fuck does that even mean? Moving the
25
stadium
years to figure that out.
Moving the stadium to Cuyahoga County doesn't make sense because we want to keep it in Cuyahoga County.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. And then we've built, and this is the one that got me the most. We've built the lakefront around Cleveland Browns Stadium.
What are you talking about?
Stop.
So many parking lots we've built down there. So many parking lots.
It's the biggest load of letter bullshit, whatever. You know what this, honestly, you know what that letter is? If you go read it, like I said, once again, it's just a bunch of word salad to try to make up for his failure. What it was they were banking on the nostalgia, the thoughts, the deep connection that the fans have for the Browns in downtown Cleveland as an excuse, and they were going to ride it as long as they could until someone finally challenged them, which is what the Haslams are doing, to build a new stadium, and now they're in panic mode. Like, that's what this is. They're in panic mode. Good. You're an asshole for writing that letter.
Let's take a minute to talk about this, and then Joe will get to your asshole of the week, but let's take a minute because I have to tell you, I got to give a shout out to somebody that I don't always... It's not always my favorite person to follow when it comes to things. And it's not a personal thing. It's just not my favorite tone of voice. But I will tell you, there's a person that's done some reporting on this situation and specifically done a lot of tweeting on this situation who is just dead on this topic. And it's Dangerous Daryl Ryder, who works a lot with 92.3 The Fan. Daryl Ryder has been so on top of this. And Chad, it's what you're saying. You're not going to get, first of all, the Browns do not release everything they've released about this dome stadium if it's not a done deal. It's a done deal. They're building the dome and they're moving to Brook Park. Right. What are you talking about? Right. They wouldn't have released any of that if it's not a done deal. But this guilt trip that Ronan or whatever his name or anybody is trying to pin on the Cleveland Browns for lakefront development. If you are a Clevelander, if you are a nearby Clevelander, if you're just a person that identifies from Cleveland, all we've been doing is screaming about lakefront development for our whole lives. For our whole lives, we've been screaming about lakefront development. Yeah. You know why? You know why? Because you have this beautiful setting in this beautiful city. You can't go eat dinner on the lake. You can't go have a drink on the lake. You can't go spend an enjoyable time with your family on the lake. Nope. Why? Because outside of Edgewater Park, they haven't developed shit around the lake. Right. We go to the Harp, no free ads. One of my favorite restaurants in Cleveland. Right. One of my favorite restaurants in Cleveland. Right. Why do we go to the Harp? Because it's the only patio in Cleveland that you can sit and look at the lake. And it's not even on the lake.
Nope.
It's
there's a highway
dividing. Goddamn highway. It's across a salt mine and a highway from the lake. It's still one of my favorite places. This is not me bashing the Harp. It's amazing, but there's no development. We have a billionaires airport. We have a billionaires airport that we won't get rid of because billionaires don't want you to get rid of it. It's a waste of space. It is a waste of the airport's a waste of space. Then they tear down all the buildings that were associated with the Port Authority, and they just turned it into more parking lots for the Browns. They have done zero development.
Yeah.
So stick this shit, county. Stick it, city. Whether you're Mayor Bibb or the county executives or whatever, stick the guilt trip on lakefront development, which is something you haven't prioritized in forever. Now all of a sudden you can't make it a topic.
Right. Yeah. That's what I think. I think they are in panic mode because of this.
Yeah. Well, what they should do, guys, is just maybe go into hero role reversal and say, hey, you know what? The Browns have made it pretty clear that they're going to do this. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to put together a plan that we can follow through with to make the city of Cleveland proud. And we're going to go ahead and the Browns are going to go, and we are really going to put the investment in to develop this. Like, we're going to find investors. We're going to find people because if you're an investor and you have the money to do it, it's a foolproof bet. If you develop the lakefront down there, people are going to go there.
Right.
It's going to make money. We're going to go take the time to do this. And you know what? Just because the Browns are leaving that area doesn't mean that we're going to tuck our tails and feel bad for ourselves. That's what the city should do. They should say, we're going to go develop it.
Cities put so much emphasis on like how much, and I mean, football teams bring economy to downtowns, sure. But like for 10 days.
Correct.
A year.
Correct.
So one of my biggest complaints about downtown Nashville, they have an incredible downtown, Broadway, all this kind of stuff. Across the river, they have the Titan Stadium, and it's just an eyesore. Like, it's just totally kills the vibe of the city. Just doesn't make any sense. Like, if they want to move to Brook Park, great. Make it cool. Make it something people are actually going to want to go to down there. Not that people don't want to go to Browns games, but like realistically, it's a small population of the people in Cleveland that go to Browns games. So it's like, make it something that the whole community can utilize, and let them go to Brook Park. They're going to develop that area. It'll be great. But like, why are you fighting for it to be on the lake? It's so stupid.
At Rusty Wagner. And Rusty, I'm sorry I didn't get to your comments earlier when we had Pepe on because he had some great comments. Look at this one. Played at Sparky Stadium in 93, sat across from Pepe's locker. That's cool as hell. I'm sorry we didn't get to that before. But look at Rusty sitting here going, it's going back 40 years. They've been talking about it I am 40. Almost. That's all they've talked about for 40 years is that they were going to do this. How about Bandito? Wouldn't a Navy Pier type development be great there? Of course it would. Anything would be great. Anything would be great. There is nothing. They built one. Oh God, I'm gonna get real mad about this. They built one goddamn Mexican restaurant down there. They called it Bueno or whatever. They called it Bueno, and they put it down there behind the rock hole. And they were like, "Hey, we have a thing now that you can come to." It's horseshit. They are so bad at using the one thing that could make them a ton of money, and they're terrible at it. It's awful.
Listen, you want to tell me that you're upset that the Browns are leaving because they have like a deep emotional connection to football on the lake downtown? Sure, I get that. But it's going to be really hard to convince me that 8 to 10 days a year is just going to ruin the economy of downtown Cleveland. Guys, when is the best time to go downtown, guys?
Summer.
And if sports are what you're worried about, do we have a sports team that's still going to be there over the summer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so maybe, I don't know, if you have this really cool lakefront to go visit to before a game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, 42 days a year? Or, excuse me, 42 dates a year? No, excuse me, what is it? No, that math wasn't mathing.
No, 81.
81 days?
81.
You're in the summer? Are you kidding me?
Plus Cavs, if they're in the playoffs, and plus late season, the Cavs are starting. And plus, guess what's going to happen? not everybody that comes to Cleveland for a Browns game is going to want to stay in Brook Park, even though the development looks amazing. Some people are going to go stay in downtown, and then they're going to take the train out to Brook Park or whatever.
And guess what? Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse is not going to stop having events just because they built this new stadium in Brook Park.
I don't even know that I can put this whole thing on the screen.
Wow.
Xavier went hard with the comment. I just think it's really good. The city and county should have transitioned to, we are taking ideas for what can replace the Brown Stadium, hotels, shopping, something similar to the Vegas Sphere. I don't know if we can do the Vegas Spheres, but something that's has a concert downtown. And a good point here is, if you do the development right in Brook Park, and then you do the development of the lakefront in downtown Cleveland right, it's better for the entire area. It's not just Cleveland benefiting. It's not just the county benefiting. It's better for everybody.
Yeah, Northeast Ohio in general is going to benefit from all of this. All of this.
Yeah.
No, it can't leave Cuyahoga County because we want to keep it in Cuyahoga County. Go fuck yourself, Chris Roan asshole.
All right. That was a good topic on your asshole of the week there, Chad. Joe, we didn't even get to yours yet. Joe, who's your asshole of the week?
I'm gonna go with the Court of Arbitration for Sports for stripping Jordan Childs of her bronze medal.
Outrageous!
Come on now. U.S. presented video evidence that they got. I don't even know. I didn't even watch this event, but there was a discussion about the points before, and apparently the U.S. did not raise their issue with the point that was given to Jordan Childs before the allotted time. And they're like, hey, actually, we have a video that shows we did it 45 seconds before the time cutoff. And they sent it in, and the court was like, nope, I think we're just going to keep with our decision and not give her the bronze medal. So that's really shitty. I hate that. And also, for the person that does get the bronze medal, who I don't know who it is or what country she's from, but it kind of feels like a tainted medal at that point, you know?
Yeah,
totally.
You know that you probably shouldn't be getting it. Now you got it. And it's I wish I just got it probably the right way.
Yeah, it's horseshit. All the way around. So
yeah.
I agree with that. All right, those are our assholes of the week. If you've got somebody that's been an asshole, or a group of people, or whatever, just any kind of asshole, throw it in the comments. We'll put it on there. Klinger in the comments says Romania. And you know what? We're just going to add Romania to the list of assholes tonight. Romania is a country.
Fuck you, Romania. Fuck you.
She didn't mean to. She just got fourth.
No, well, not her, but just the country. It's fine.
Yeah, okay, fine.
All right, so let's move on, boys. I've got some we got a half hour left here. Got some quick things we want to touch on. Let's go back to the Browns for a minute. We've had the stadium conversation, and I think it's obvious that we all know kind of how we feel about the stadium conversation. But having said that, boys, we had a Browns game this weekend. We had a Cleveland Browns football game at what I affectionately now am going to call the future former home of the Cleveland Browns Stadium. The Cleveland Browns hosted the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
And week one, the Browns didn't play any starters.
Yeah.
Nor I'm pretty sure most of the backups did not play.
JV squad, step up.
And they played the Green Bay Packers, who did play their starters for the first quarter. At least not at the quarterback. They played him for 4 plays, but otherwise, the starters played for most of the first quarter.
Yeah.
And the Packers beat the Browns 23-10. Results aside, forget about results nonsense. If you guys caught anything about the game, if you guys caught any glimpses of the game, what do we take away from that first preseason game of the Cleveland Browns against the Green Bay Packers?
Jameis Winston had one hell of a pregame speech.
Oh, hell yes. Yes.
That's everything that you wanted from Jameis. When you signed him, that's everything you're getting, right? He should pump up the team before every regular season game.
Correct. Even if he's not starting, he should be the guy that pumps up the team.
Yeah. Even if he's not starting. Yeah.
Did you see David Njoku just get so? David Njoku was so. It was it felt like it was a dream of his to be in a Jameis Winston pregame huddle. By the time Jameis was done giving his speech, David Njoku was ready to pick up the stadium and throw it into the lake where it belongs anyways.
How could you not? It's Jameis fucking Winston.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah. I don't know. A guy I was most impressed with, even though he was playing against insurance salesmen and UFL hopefuls, I thought DTR played really well. I was impressed with DTR's poise. I was impressed with the way he was had command of the offense. I was really impressed with some of the throws he made. That deep out on the left side, I forget who he threw it to, was incredible. So I noticed there was some noticeable improvement for him. For me, and that was it. And I don't know
where I like, Chad, real quick. You know where I like the improvement came from DTR?
Yeah,
is that last year as a rookie that was not ready to be thrown into any position he got thrown into.
Right.
DTR was really good at making decent plays when chaos happened.
Yeah. Yep.
And what I really liked about what we saw from DTR, and again, yes, he was playing against third and fourth stringers and whatever. But what I really liked about what we saw was he calmed the chaos.
Right.
And a lot of his biggest moments that happened in the game were in the pocket, where he stood in and like moved in the pocket. Because last year it was like, get out of the pocket and go, and then make a throw if you can.
Right.
But with DTR in that game, it feels like a concerted effort by the coaching staff to say, whoa, chaos doesn't need to happen the whole time. Stick inside that pocket and see what you can make happen. And man, he made some throws, like big time throws. I don't care who he was playing against, big time throws.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing my other thought, and like, because this is just how it is when you're watching the third and fourth stringers and wondering like who's going to be the 52nd and 53rd man on this roster. How would you love to be as content as John Kelly Jr. is with his football career? Like he's like a cockroach. He's just here every year. Like they terminated his contract, but he's just kind of chilling. Maybe they gave him like a room to stay in to put him on the practice squad again, because he's going to be back. He's like he doesn't leave. He's always around. Bad,
especially with what the Browns have done at the running back position this year, where you bring in Deontay Foreman and you bring in Nyheim Hines and you still have Jerome Ford and you still have Pierre Strong. There's no chance this dude's making the team. And I got the feel bads about it, to be honest. I got the feel bads about it. This was actually one of the very first preseason games that he's played in where he made a terrible mistake. Like in most of the preseason games this guy's ever played in, he's looked really good. And it's like, oh, God, it would be nice for that guy to like get a look. And then in this game, boom, fumble like on his first touch. And it was like, well, boy. Xavier, the mad tweeter, who a much shorter tweet this time. John Kelly signed with the Ravens. You're not going to see him there either. But
practice
shout out John Kelly.
Like just jumping from practice squad to practice squad. He's probably going to get cut from there and come back to the Browns because that's just what he does.
It's a good living.
It really is.
You're making good money on the
practice squad. Players get paid like $20,000 a day or something.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think a lot of people's first takeaway is going to be a comfort level with DTR. And I got to give a shout out to our buddy Pete Smith from the OBR here. He really explains the Browns situation really well. And if you haven't heard it, you got to go listen to the way he talks about it. Tyler Huntley is not meant for the Browns. He didn't sign here with the understanding.
Tyler Huntley?
What's that? Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
He didn't sign here with the understanding that he was going to make this roster. He signed here with the understanding that he's not going to make this roster. He's doing, Pete Smith calls it a quarterback internship, and I think that's awesome. I think it's really smart. But I think it also says really good things about your organization. He's here to work with certain coaches here and to work with certain players here to learn things that he can then apply to whatever his next stop is. But I think going into the preseason I think obviously the average person that follows the Browns, it was like, man, who's going to take this? Are they going to keep Tyler Huntley and try to practice squad DTR, which you're never going to get done because somebody will pick him up? No, DTR is going to be your third quarterback, and Tyler Huntley's going to move on somewhere else. And I'm sure Andrew Berry's sitting there thinking maybe we can get a Josh Dobbs 6th or 7th round pick for Huntley after this is all done. But one performance by DTR, the way that he performed in that last game, also just adds an element of comfort, right? It adds an element of like, oh, okay, we can let Tyler Huntley go, which was fine in the first place. But now it's like, oh, okay, we can let this dude go and we can feel comfortable with the guys we've got in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only other person that kind of stands out, I mean, doesn't even really stand out, but I thought had a nice little game was Jamari Thrash. I mean, I thought he looked, fine for what it was. Right. I mean, he's going to be on this roster, but he's going to be like, the fifth or sixth receiver on the depth chart. But, it's good to have depth, especially at the playmaker position in today's NFL. So, yeah, other than that, it was just, it is what it was. On to the next one here.
Jamari Thrash is going to maybe find his way into playing time. I'm just throwing that out there. And I don't know if it's even going to be this year, but that dude runs his routes with an understanding of leverage and how to get open.
Right.
That's really wild to see from a 5th-round pick. Like the way he's not just fast. He's not just one thing. He runs his routes at defensive backs in a way that he can make a move and get open.
Sure.
And his hands are incredible. I mean, some of those catches in the game, and then some of the catches we've seen in training camp out of him are incredible. So I think the Browns have a lot of reasons to be really excited about him.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if the thing was with his size and his inconsistent hands, like that was the one thing that kind of dropped him to the 5th round. But
the hands look great.
The hands look great. And
they have this whole training camp.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I can't, training camps like spring training. Like there's always going to be standouts. It's just a matter of whether it translates into the regular season or not.
So it brings us, boys, to a topic that we now have to talk about, and this came out just today.
Yeah,
because really the player that I thought I was kind of most excited about after last weekend's game was Mike Hall.
Yeah.
I thought he looked like he belonged. I thought he made incredible plays. There were certain times where he blew through 3 guys trying to block him and got in the way or diverted a play or whatever. And I was really, really excited about what I saw from Mike Hall in that game on Saturday. And then today the news breaks that Mike Hall he turns himself into Avon Police because if you read the report, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing it, he got into an argument with his fiance. His fiance's mom called the police. He apparently threw a baby bottle and hit his fiance in the head with it.
Yeah.
He apparently dragged his fiance out of the house onto the driveway, picked her up and choked her. And this is all alleged. This is all just part of the police report.
Right.
But the wildest thing is that then he allegedly took a gun and he put it up against her head and he said, "I'm ready to fucking end it all." And
yeah,
I don't know where you go. I don't know where you go from there. I don't know where you go from if that's all true. I know where I would go from there. But
if that's all true, you cut him and you cut him now because the guy needs help and he can't be playing football right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, until all the facts come out, as of right now, it's just a horrible situation. Like if it's all bad, right? Because I mean, I'm sure, I'm sure his side of the story is different, or because we got to hear his side of the story. But as of right now, this is all bad, all bad.
Yeah, he went to court in Avon Lake. He posted his bond. He got released, but. I don't know. I try not to be overly judgmental on anything, and people come from different backgrounds and but there's certain things that, there's certain things that just you can't hold a gun to somebody's head and say, "I'm ready to end it."
Right. And
if that really happened, that is so far beyond the scope of something that you can look past.
Right.
And it's not look past per se, but it's just I feel like one of the hardest jobs. let's say you're Andrew Berry or even Jimmy Haslam, somebody that runs an NFL organization or a major sports organization. I feel like one of the hardest jobs is you're going to deal with imperfect people, and you're going to deal with people that make bad decisions, and you're going to deal with people that make bad moves and mistakes and all that stuff. And you've got to figure out how you can come in and try to help somebody versus how you need to cut ties, right?
Right.
And that's really difficult. And I think I think it's real easy to sit back in our chairs and say, well, you cut him and get rid of him.
Yeah.
But do you, or do you say, hey, listen, we're going to put you on some kind of suspended list and try to get you some help? And is that a bad thing if they do that? I don't know if that's a bad thing. I don't have any answers for this. And I don't know that I'm not arguing for anything. It's just, and Bandito makes a good point. And I'm not trying to say it a certain one way or the other, but Bandito makes a great point. If he was on the Steelers, we'd be all screaming for him to be in jail.
I mean, if he was working a normal job, he'd be fired on the spot.
Yeah.
Done. Like it shouldn't even be a question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just,
I mean, doesn't mean that like the team can't get resource and help for him, but like in my opinion, that's over. Like you can't come back from that.
Yeah. And so then the question, guys, becomes, is there anybody within the Browns that you question a little more? Because I started to see that a little bit. Well, I started to see it a little bit with
Deshaun.
No. I mean,
Come
with
on.
the organization. Do you start to question the ability to, like, why are we drafting people even though they have, like, Mike Hall had red flags about his behavior. Perrion Winfrey a couple of years ago had red flags about his behavior.
There's no concern for behavior with the team, with Andrew Berry or with the Haslams. They wouldn't have picked up Deshaun if they had any concerns about moral judgment or character of the people on the team.
So is that
And
a
it's
fault?
really-
Is that a fault? Is that something that they should be?
1,000%.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because, and like as a fan, like we always say, like removing the actions from the game, but like they do that very loudly with the people that are on the team. And it does suck from a very moral perspective. To root for some of the guys on the team. And it sucks for the people on the team that are like genuinely good people and like are just trying to like make a good impact on the community and their family and the city. Like it's tough. I mean, it's not like a basketball team or even like a baseball team where you have half and even less of the personnel that you have to like maintain in a high standard. Like it's a lot of people, and you're going to get those people that aren't going to represent themselves and the team well or be good human beings. But like, they have a mentality where they would rather take the risk and go for a win than maybe focus more on the character side of things.
Yeah, Charlie Huglet seems like a real bad apple, guys. So no, but getting to your point, it is a fault. It's become a fault because the last three guys that they have taken chances on haven't worked out so far, right? And that's not to say, because every team in the league takes chances on the guys that have character flaws, have character issues, right? But the fact that they haven't really had success with those type of players, or they haven't really worked out for whatever the reasons, the last couple of times, it's definitely a time to maybe take a look at, a reevaluation of your process when you're looking into these guys and looking to take them. I certainly think it calls for that, because the NFL in general is not going to stop taking a chance on guys who might have had, issues in the past. It's just, you go back years of guys who have had problems and they've taken a chance on them. And, in a lot of cases they've worked out, in a lot of cases they don't. Yeah. So it's a matter of maybe, I think you definitely need to reevaluate your process and how you go about things when it comes to guys like this.
I think it's interesting. I think it's a really interesting conversation. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know exactly where I fall, because we can sit there and talk about, man, I remember I watched the Browns for a lot of years talk about high character guys. Oh, he's a high character guy. He's a big character guy. He's a high character guy. He fucking sucks at football, but man, high character guy, big time character guy, leads the league in character. And I'm a little jokey about it. And I think you should always be looking at the best players with the best character. But you also, like, for me, I also remember where a lot of these guys come from. And they don't come from great places, and they don't come from high moral fiber, just like a lot of guys come from really tough backgrounds where they have to deal with things by age 10 that I've never dealt with in my 40 years on this earth. And they come from places that cause them to act certain ways. And again, I'm not justifying anything. I'm just saying from a front office perspective, I think you have to take chances on guys sometimes. Yeah. I think you have to look at a guy like Mike Hall and go, shit, he's a freak athlete. He's an incredible football player. And we've got to take the chance that we can get him to just act right. And it doesn't always work out. But I just don't find myself outraged with like Andrew Berry at this point. I don't find myself outraged with Kevin Stefanski at this point. You went and got a guy that is a really good football player, and you hoped that he would be able to just, I don't know, through the first 6 fucking months of his career, keep his life on track, and he didn't. And I don't know what they're gonna do about it, but
I mean, at its basic form, like you're not gonna hit on everybody, right?
Right.
Whether they're good character guys or not, whether they have red flags or not, you're just not. I mean, as long as you're hitting on more guys than you're not, like as long as the ratio is more towards the positive than it is the negative, I think that's the mark of whether a GM is a good draft person or not.
Yeah.
It's sometimes stuff happens. I mean, obviously, for whatever process they do use for guys who have red flags, they thought that Mike was a good pick to make in the second round. And I mean, can they control whether he does something or not? No, absolutely not. But they went through whatever process they had, and they thought, hey, we think whatever issues this guy has is behind him, so we're going to take a chance. And yeah, it didn't pay off this time.
No. Well, listen, we'll find out what happens with Mike Hall, the Cleveland Browns' second-round draft pick, highest draft pick they've had in a couple of years. We'll find out what happens with him. I do want to give one special shout-out to a former guest of the podcast, because there's a guy in Browns camp that's really making a name for himself. He's had a tremendous camp because he's finally healthy for the first time in a couple of years. But we had Mike Woods on this podcast a couple of years ago, and right when he got drafted out of Oklahoma, we had him on. He was a great young man, had a good time with him. And then he just went after injury after injury. Well, that dude's making a name for himself in this Browns campaign.
His manager thanked us for interviewing him. I said, "What? No, we're not people. We're nobody."
Right.
We're not important.
he's pushed himself into the guy that maybe is going to make this roster conversation, and it's wild because he's been awesome at camp. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. All right. Couple more quick hitters, and then we're going to get out of here. I want to spend a minute on the Guardians, because boys, especially the last couple nights, the Guardians right now, they have come off of a 7-game losing streak, where, if you'll remember, I think it's really fascinating. One of the most ridiculous things that happens is in a 4-game series in baseball. If you'll remember, in a 4-game series, they came out and beat the Baltimore Orioles games 1 and 2, and then they lost games 3 and 4, and you feel like you lost that damn series because you lost the last 2 games, even though you split it. Then they get swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks in a series, and then who'd they play next? The Twins. And then they lost 2 games in a doubleheader to the Twins. So you go on this 7-game losing streak. And I'm going to tell you, after they dropped both of those games in the doubleheader to the Twins, it felt bleak. The Twins were within a game and a half.
It was so fast too, because you had 2 doubleheaders in that stretch.
Yes,
and it was like 3 days and you lost 4 games. It's like, oh, that hurts real bad.
You dropped 7 games in like 5 days, just brutal. And the Twins climbed to within a game and a half of the Guardians. And now the Guardians have responded. They win the last 2 games in that series. So again, the ultimate juxtaposition. When you win the first 2 games of a 4-game series and then you lose the last 2, you feel like you lost the series. But when you lose the first 2 games of a 4-game series and then you win the last 2, you feel like you won the damn series. Like, let's roll. We came back and got it. And now, last night, what a game. What an offensive slugfest between the Guardians and the Cubs. And tonight, a pitcher's duel that saw John Kenzie Noel hit his 3rd home run in the last 2 days to break the tie. Matthew Boyd was spectacular for the Guardians on the mound starting tonight. And all of a sudden, the Guardians are on a 4-game winning streak.
We're going to look back. I think it's safe to say that the team's trending towards some type of playoff positioning at this point. Obviously, they're in first right now, but team's pretty solid, and they've shown enough consistency where I think they can carry into, at minimum, a wild card spot, but obviously, hopefully, the division. We would look back at this point in the season as we have a rotation finally with this team, and we have our starting pitching locked in place, which we have not had all year long. To see Alex Cobb come in against the Twins on, what was that, Sunday? I think he pitched.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Boyd today. My doubts, and again, 1 start for each of them, but my doubts for them are eroding very quickly. Both of them coming back from injury have not pitched. Matthew Boyd, he hadn't pitched since in 400 days or something like that. I think Alex Cobb, something similar. They look great. And we needed starting pitching that was just get us to the 6th inning, get the bullpen in. That is the bar that we have set for what our starting pitching is doing. And this is a starting pitching that can leave your bullpen fresh.
Yeah,
you don't have to rely on the bullpen as much. And that goes leaps and bounds going into the deeper months of August and September here coming up, because you need that bullpen fresh for the playoffs. And this to me feels like the turning point of the season that's been really good. But it's that last piece kind of locking in my eyes.
There's still 43 fucking games to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But guys, we go through that. Here's the thing that we have to put into perspective. They go through that. Oh, Joe gone.
He gone.
He's out. He gone. They go through that 7-game losing streak, which again, you get into these kind of mid parts of the season where it feels like the doldrums of the season. They go through the 7-game losing streak. Minnesota closes the gap. Well, you know where we're sitting right now? We're still the best team in baseball.
Yeah, I know.
The Cleveland Guardians are the best team in baseball. They've got the best record in baseball. There's no team. You've got Baltimore and New York with 70 wins. The Guardians have 71. No team. Well, the Dodgers have 70 wins. So the Guardians are the only team in baseball with more than 70 wins. They're on pace for 95 wins. And depending on if they get hot or not, I'm going to give credit to not just the guys on the team, but Stephen Vogt as a manager.
Yeah.
He just has guided them through the tough times.
Right.
When you play 162 games, you're going to have tough times. Look at the Rangers that won the World Series last year. They went through some slumps last year.
Right.
And look at any team that ever won the World Series. They go through slumps.
Yeah.
And it's the teams that bounce back and can recover from those that go on to do things like win World Series. And this year's Guardians team has just been able to hit those slumps and not let them elongate too much and then just act like they didn't happen. Just act like they didn't happen, move on, and go win more games.
The Rangers are a perfect example of why I say I'll worry about how this team is playing come game 140, come game 145, how they're playing going into the postseason. It's just you ride the waves of the season. Yes, 7 in a row. It looked like this team was headed for a major slump, but you know what? They were able to bounce back. A lot of that's due in large part to Stephen Vogt, and a lot of that's due in large part to this team. This team just has a belief and a confidence about themselves that they can go out and they can win every night. Right? A lot of, if this team was a young team, say a lot of guys, in their first or second years of Major League Ball, then you might have a little bit more concern. But no, these guys have all the belief in the world. Even through that 7-game losing streak, they have all the belief in the world that they can go out and win night in and night out. And you see it now as they've bounced right back on a 4-game win streak.
Yep.
So what a 7-game win streak tells me is that this team is yet to peak, like truly peak. The last time we had a streak in August was the 22-game winning streak. That was a peak. This team had a very low late in the season, and like there is time for that to just build and compound, and it's exciting.
And that's what you want. That's what I'm waiting for, and I can't wait for that.
So I want to talk about 2 specific players before we move on to the last thing, and I want to start with this question: is Emmanuel Clase the Cy Young this year?
Yep,
in the American League.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
No closer has won the Cy Young since Eric Gagne did it. But I don't know.
Untouchable.
I don't know that you could make a case for. I don't know that you can make a case for anybody over him.
No,
I have never seen. He's the exact opposite of what he was last year. And last year he was one of the league leaders in saves.
Yeah,
he was nibbling last year.
But yes, now he is.
He's untouchable.
Nobody hits the ball hard off of him.
Right.
Everybody and anytime he throws more than 10 pitches in an inning, I'm shocked.
Right.
He just goes out there and gets like 3 lazy ground balls for outs, and it's just like game over.
Right.
Emmanuel Clase, if the season ended today, and again, we've got almost 2 months left of the season.
Jesus Christ.
If the season ended today, we got a month and a half left. He's got to be the Cy Young, right? He's got to be the Cy Young. He is the best pitcher in the American League this year.
Yeah, and was it? I think this was also Sunday's game. Was it when he had bases loaded, no outs?
Yeah,
against the Twins, and just methodically worked through that. I mean, it's not, the bases loaded. I think there was a walk, maybe 2 walks and a single or something like that. It wasn't like he was, throwing out meatballs or anything, but like. To have a pitcher that can go on that edge and then just shut down the next 3 batters. I think there's a double play in there, but like shut down the next 3 batters, like
it's like he loaded the bases to practice.
Yeah. He's like, this is getting too easy. I need something to like spice it up a little
bit. Yeah.
So I think he is on the fast track to being the first closer to win a Cy Young since Eric Gagne. And then we got this dude, John Kenzie Noel. And boys, this is that big right-handed power hitter that we've been screaming about for years. And he's here. Like this dude is here. He makes his presence. What I love about John Kenzie Noel, even though he has got room to grow as a hitter. Sometimes he gets a little excited and swings at some pitches in the dirt. Sometimes he strikes out a little bit too much, but we're still talking about a guy that's kind of a 250 hitter in his time in Major League Baseball.
That's okay.
And when that dude gets a hold of a ball, the dude is the definition of a power hitter. Yeah. And it's exactly what we've needed. The addition of John Kenzie Noel, think about it, boys. Think about the way yesterday's game went, where he hit 2 home runs, and think about the way today's game went. John Kenzie Noel directly resulted in 2 wins for the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah.
And he's done it on multiple occasions. Like this dude he is exactly what we have been looking for.
Yep. First off, 250 is perfectly acceptable in today's Major League Baseball.
If you're a power hitter, 100%.
If you're a power hitter, I mean, and secondly, have you guys ever seen quads as big as your body? Like that's what John Kenzie is rocking. And yeah, this is like you said, man, this is what we've been waiting for. The pop that this guy has. I mean, he's a guy that he's the guy we've been waiting for, because he's the guy that anytime he steps up to the plate, sure, he might not rip a single, he might not rip a double, but at any moment he can go yard on you.
Yeah.
And when he does, he does it in spectacular fashion.
Yes. Yeah.
It's nothing that just like creeps over the wall, right? It is a bomb. And it's exciting, man. It's awesome.
I was on the phone with my wife when he hit the home run today, and I literally screamed like a little girl. It was like, "Oh my god!" Like, it was just like a missile. It was
Right.
an absolute missile, and like he reminds me of what we wanted Yasiel Puig to be, and like Puig had such raw power.
That's so
Yeah.
good. That's
You know,
such a
like
good.
every time Puig hit a home run, like you're just like that looks so effortless, but like the leather's just stripped off that ball. John Casey-Noel's doing that, and
Right.
like it's so fun to watch.
Hey, where's Puig now? Where's Puig?
Nowhere.
Jail. He's in
Yeah, maybe
Is he
jail.
in jail?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh,
he ran
yeah,
some
please.
gambling ring, and he's in jail. now.
It makes me sad.
Yeah.
I was
I love
so
when you
excited.
Google him, his picture when the Guardians uniform comes up first.
I was excited when they. You'll remember. We will all remember the night Puig got traded for, and then he went out and just started a brawl on the field in Cincinnati and got suspended for like 4 games. And we were like, "Fucking great! We just traded for this guy, and he just got suspended. That's amazing."
Yeah.
All right, boys. Hey, listen. I think we can still cover some things maybe next week. Maybe we'll get into the Olympics a little bit. I know it's going to be a couple weeks past, but I'm going to reach out to my buddy Matt and see if we can get him to come talk Olympics with us because he was in Paris the whole time covering the Olympics. So maybe we'll get him on. But I think we call it here tonight. It's 10:35. I don't want to go too crazy, and we still got to do our cheers of the week. So why don't we call it tonight? And we'll get into some other things later. Unless you guys, is there anything else this week that you were like, we got to talk about this?
We're good.
Nope.
Well then, let's do our cheers of the week, and then let's get out of here. Chad, why don't you lead us off? What's your cheer of the week this week?
Sweet. Well, going with the piggybacking off of Joe's asshole of the week, my cheers of the week is going to go to Flavor Flav.
Flavor
Flav.
Yeah. That's gonna do that one.
First off, he for him sponsoring the women's water polo team.
That was so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Some of these women got jobs. Don't worry about a thing. I got you. But going off the Jordan Childs, is that Jordan Childs situation? The fact that she got a bronze medal taken away. Flavor Flav, if you have not seen it, has made her a bronze clock necklace
What a hero.
that he's going to give to her. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. You guys see this? Look at
Oh yeah, bronze
Sick.
clock.
What a
Let's
hero.
go.
the bronze clock that
An
he
icon.
wants to give to her. So yeah, he made it up today, and yeah, he's offering it to her. So if she wants it, you can have a bronze clock necklace from Flavor Flav.
A total
That
icon.
guy is an American hero.
He sure is. He's a treasure.
He is.
a
He's doing the
treasure.
most for America. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, Flavor Flav getting a cheer of the week. Joey, who's your cheer of the week?
We can talk about this game next week, but the USA men's basketball game versus Serbia, that game was without a doubt the second best basketball game I've ever watched in my life. First one being Game 7 of the 2016 finals.
Yep.
That is number 2. If that game doesn't get you pumped up about basketball, nothing will. Nothing will. It was incredible. The comeback, the fight. Like, I love rooting for Steph Curry. It's very fun. I won't go back to doing it. But like when you see him make a 3 and you can cheer, it's like, oh man, this is great.
Yo, the gold medal game against France. That game was also unbelievable.
The last 3 double contested 3 on the last, man. Okay, but like that Serbia game, like,
yes,
I was screaming from the couch. I was so excited. It was a good time. So cheers goes to that specific game.
Yeah, like as big of pricks as we were, like of LeBron here, like back when we were back when obviously with the Cavs or whatever, first and second time, you understand why now like the Warriors fans for the last 10 years are just total pricks about Steph Curry.
Yeah, right.
They're just developing a superiority complex. Just watching like the greatest shooter ever to play the game. Of course, they're going to be a prick.
That's what he is.
Yeah,
yeah,
unquestionable.
Shout out to that. And I'm going to piggyback off you, Joe, because my cheer of the week was just to Team USA in general at the Olympics, as they do at pretty much every Olympics. They won the gold medal count. They won the overall medal count, and they represented in a great way. And there were so many cool moments. whether it was the moments you expected, the women's soccer team winning the gold, you expected that. The men's basketball team winning the gold, you expected that. But then there were also moments of whether it was the men's gymnastic team that hasn't won a gold medal in forever, whether it was that women's sevens rugby team that won a medal, and men's didn't win the gold medal, but they won a medal, and they haven't done that in forever. The women's sevens, that game, I don't know if you remember seeing the highlights of that.
Yeah, it was so early. So much has happened since then.
When that woman trucked over like 3 other women to go like 100 yards, I don't even know what you call it. It's a touch, I think.
It's a try.
No, it's a touch and then a try. It's a touch. Yeah. She got the touch, and then you do the try after you get the touch. Yes, it is. Don't make me fuck with you on this. You get the touch when you dive in. When you dive, no, a try is like an extra point. A try is an extra point. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The try is the extra point after the touch. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I played rugby in college, but it's
the try when you touch the ball down in the. That's not called an end zone.
Also known as a touchdown. Try is worth 5 points. Where's the kick though? What's the kick called?
It's the try.
No, I don't think it is. Somebody in the chat. Come on.
A try in rugby is a touchdown that's worth 5 points.
Conversion. That's the other one. Try and conversion.
Oh.
Done.
All right.
Try and conversion.
Whatever. That's my fault. All right, I'm wrong.
Sure is. Sure is.
Whatever it is.
This is my winner.
Whatever it is, Team USA was great. The Simone Biles and just everything. Everything Team USA was great. They were great. Shout out to Katie Moon now for medaling again. She won the silver medal in the pole vault. We had her on after she made the gold in Tokyo a few years ago. She's great. I want to give them all a shout out. They were great. It was so fun to watch. And outside of diving, Team USA was killer all through the Olympics.
And ping pong.
I need to make an honorary cheer to that Algerian female boxer, Iman Khalif or whatever.
Yeah, Iman Khalif.
She secured the U.S.'s gold medal count by beating the Chinese boxer in the final round.
Oh.
So go you.
That person who is a woman.
Yes.
You stupid idiots.
And notice I said she.
Correct.
Go her.
You big dopes. And shout out to you for you. She did it for us.
Yes, she did.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Those are our cheers of the week. Hopefully you guys have had some good cheers, things to cheer about this last week, but we're going to get out of here on episode 225 of the Garage Beers podcast. We've got more big things coming up again with the Cleveland Browns season upcoming, with the Guardians heading towards the playoffs, with Ohio State coming up. We've got more guests getting lined up. We got more big things coming up, and you don't want to miss any of it. So to make sure you don't miss any of it, get over to the Garage Beers on all the socials and make sure you're following us just to be a part of the fun, to make sure you know what's going on. We want to end our show with our thank yous, and we always give a few thank yous. First of all, the Cleveland Tint Company. Again, get over to clevelandtint.com for all your window tinting needs. Our next thank you goes out to the OBR, the Orange and Brown Report. They are in the heyday right now, getting ready for the Browns season, and nobody covers the Browns better than the OBR. Get over to the OBR.com and subscribe, and make sure you are hitting subscribe and like and follow and all that on YouTube and Twitch and X and everything. But shout out to the OBR for hosting us. And our last thank you and our biggest thank you goes out to all of you, whether you joined us live here tonight, and there were a bunch of you in the comments, or whether you're going to listen to us or watch us later, either wherever you catch your podcasts or on Twitch or YouTube. We love you. We thank you. We appreciate you. You get our biggest thanks. And a special shout out to Pepe Pearson tonight for joining us, former Ohio State running back Pepe Pearson, current associate head coach at Tarleton State University. A ton of great stories. A ton of great things to talk about. Pepe Pearson was incredible. Make sure you go give him a follow as well. That's going to do it for episode 225. For Chad Meyer over on the east side of Cleveland at Garage Beers, Chad. For Joey Whalen down in Nashville, Tennessee at Garage Beers, Joe. I am Michael Keefe at Garage Beers, Mike. Go follow the show at The Garage Beers. And until next week for episode 226